Good evening, everybody. This is Irene Vaisman, immigration attorney. Today is Monday, January 20th, 2025. And here we go. We have a new sheriff in town, new administration, new president was sworn in. And I waited until, this time it's after 7 o'clock already in the evening I knew what executive orders on immigration are being signed today, but I just really wanted to wait until it was done before I actually sit down and talk about it, because I didn't want to talk about something that wasn't signed, but I believe, I just saw on TV that I think he actually went ahead and signed them. So here we go. I'm going to be looking down at my notes because there is a lot, people, okay? And I'm going to try to get through it, some of it. Honestly, I don't even know what it means, so we're going to have to wait for analysis in the next week, 2, 3. So we'll see what happens. Also, before I get into the executive orders that specifically on immigration, okay? Like he's signing like 200 plus executive orders today, but we're going to talk about something that specifically relates to immigration, okay? But the Laken-Riley Act is actually going for a vote in the Senate today. I spoke about the Laken-Riley Act last week. You can refer to that segment. If it passes, the Senate made a couple of changes to what the House did. So let's see if it passes the Senate, and it's looking like it will. It's gonna go back to the House. Let's see what happens. I'll keep you posted what's going to happen there. But here we go, executive orders. So CBP1, okay, that's an app that was created by the Biden administration that said that, you register on this app and you are going to be paroled into the United States, and that's how you can seek asylum. No more CBP1, okay? People were trying to log in today and register, and for people that had appointments already scheduled, that's gone, okay? So no more CBP1, it's gone. The cartels were designated as terrorist organizations. So the Mexican cartels, there are, I believe, a few Venezuelan gangs, the MS-13, and some other gangs, they were designated as terrorist organizations. What it does is, if it's proven that somebody is a member of a terrorist organization, they are not eligible for asylum, they're not eligible for a lot of stuff. It also makes it much easier for the government to remove them from the United States, and gives CBP and ICE other broad authority to, to deal with, people who are members of the gang. Next, there's a 4-month freeze to refugee resettlement. Okay, so this is talking about somebody who is, who's outside of the United States, and they are seeking to enter the United States as a refugee. Okay, so you're not here, you're outside of the United States, and you're seeking refugee status. That's actually how my family came here, many years ago, back in, in 1992. That's when my family came here. We came as refugees. So there is a 4-month pause on refugee resettlement. They'll probably get going again. There's always quota limits, okay? So they may limit the quotas again. They did that in the first administration, so we'll see what happens. Next, this is not an executive order, but I just saw it already, so I'm gonna say it. So their ICE was seen in domestic flights, in airports, airports in Texas, for example. I remember a long time ago, this was really a long time ago, when I was pregnant with my first daughter. When I was flying to Texas, to Los Fresnos, I had hearings. This was, before WebEx, and undetained cases in Los Fresnos, there was this one specific judge, he did not allow of telephonic appearance for attorneys, so I had to fly in for cases held in Los Fresnos, Texas, really far. Fly into Houston, then you take another flight, you know, on like this tiny airplane into Los Fresnos, and there were ICE agents in the airport, and there's a little bit taken aback because, you know, here in New York and, for example, in Boston and even in Florida, you don't really see that. And you know, when you were going in, I went up the escalator and there was an ICE agent asking me for my ID. I didn't have my passport on me, actually, just had my driver's license. I had a lot of immigration paperwork on me for my clients, but anyways, that's back. So if you need to fly domestically, just be mindful as to where you're flying. Again, you know, if you're following me consistently, I did a segment on this. I did it mostly for driving, but this relates to that segment. Anyways, ICE is back to domestic airports that are close to the border. Okay, so back to the executive orders. So it was the national emergency was declared at the border. What that means is that, you know, the National Guard can be deployed over there, and much broader authority that can be taken by ICE and by National Guard, and they're going to start rebuilding the wall. Okay, so all of that is going to be happening. Then an executive order on clarifying military roles. Not sure what that means, actually, but from what I read, it's like, you know, it's putting priority on the border and giving, you know, the military and ICE just broader authority and just more power to do what it is they do at the border, okay, from what I understand. So there was an executive order ending catch and release. What is catch and release? It's when somebody goes through the border and, you know, oftentimes they give themselves in to an ICE agent and they say, you know, hi, you know, my name is so-and-so. I want to seek political asylum. I fear persecution, you know, back home, and there may be a credible fear interview, or, you know, there may be some processing, and that person would be released into the United States, okay, without a bond, you know, without anything. They'd just be released. So it was called catch and release. So that's done, okay, and they are, as part of that, they're bringing back the Remain in Mexico program. Again, that we had during the first administration. This was instituted for citizens of certain countries, and basically, you know, people had to wait in Mexico for their asylum hearing. Okay, if you come into the border and say, you know, I'm seeking asylum, you were processed, but you would have to wait in Mexico for your asylum hearing that often happened in like some tent by the border. So that's part of that whole end catch and release and Remain in Mexico. Next, I'm not sure I understand this one, so because it's very broad and there was really not much explanation on this. It's executive order. It says end asylum and close the border to those without legal status. Very broad. Okay, not sure what that means. I think they can't end asylum. It's you know, a person has a right to seek asylum. It's in our Immigration and Nationality Act. So not too sure what that means. We'll have to see, okay? But again, I think it's just limiting to what people can seek and how this whole border processing is gonna go. They're gonna enhance vetting and screening for people that cross the border, okay? So this just, it goes, so they realize that people are still gonna be crossing the border, right? So I don't know how they're gonna end asylum because they just can't. And So they're gonna enhance the screening and the vetting of those people, okay? I made notes, I'm reading my notes, and I'm trying to figure out what I wrote, so. It's executive order on protect American people against something that I can't read what I wrote, but basically, I guess against invasion, that's what I was trying to read, and I'm trying to think, it just didn't really make sense to me, okay? So again, it rescinds the whole open border policy, it gives ICE and CBP broader authority, and it says that, you know, we have immigration laws that are in place, right? And it just says that, you know, the agents, they're going to execute the laws that we already have already in place. And the last one that I wanted to discuss is a big one. It's the end to birthright citizenship. So this one is definitely going up to the courts. I mean, many of this, I think, is going to be challenged in courts. Some of it is not, you know, is not going to survive. Some of it will survive. But this is what this is interpreting the 14th Amendment definitely, basically. So what they're saying is, if a child is born to somebody who does not have status in the United States, then the child is not going to be deemed a U.S. citizen, okay? That's not what the 14th Amendment says, okay? The 14th Amendment is very clear, okay, on birthright citizenship. So I think that this is definitely going to be challenged in court, and it's probably going to end up in the Supreme Court, and we'll see what the Supreme Court says about, you know, what the Supreme Court says about it, because, you know, to overturn a constitutional amendment, you either need another constitutional amendment, or, you know, some sort of a Supreme Court action on it. So this, we'll see what happens. I think it's definitely being litigated. I know that there's already litigation ready on some of these executive orders, so we're going to see you know, challenges to much of this filed in courts, so we'll see what happens. On the logistics side of things, you know, because remember, immigration courts are federal courts, and you know, the immigration judges and everybody who works for USCIS and for immigration courts, they're federal court employees, and the main administrative immigration judge, you know, that they've lost their jobs, so probably going to be replaced with somebody. So we'll see what happens. There's going to be a lot of action going forward. I'll try. That's why I started this YouTube channel. Continue watching, subscribe, share. It's going to get interesting, okay? And we're going to talk about all of it. As you can see, I'm trying to make it short, not to bore you or burden you, and I'm trying to explain it in as plain terms as possible. Obviously, if you have questions, just ask me about it and we'll do a follow-up, okay? Have a good evening, everybody, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Irene Vaisman with you.